Today, we must show that these companies and speakers at this conference that the DU Native Student Alliance, DU student organizations, and the greater Denver community is not pleased with this event, the construction of this pipeline, and the harm being done to innocent protectors fighting for our water and fighting for life. Today, we show them that the two things they never expected us to have. We have stamina and we have each other. And those are two things that they can never take away from us. We want them to know that we are not going anywhere, and we will continue to fight for our future and the future of the environment. I would like to thank everyone for coming out to this event to stand in support and in solidarity. I would like to also thank all of the student alliances that have came out to support.
And right now, we'll be leading marches. The Pipeline Leadership Conference is taking place in that building right over there. And so we're going to lead marches all around there, and just to make sure that they hear our voices and know that we're here and we're not approve of their conference being on DU campus. Now, let's make our voices heard because they're right over there. We'll walk around the path, all right?
Drink oil! Keep it in the soil! We can't drink oil! Keep it in the soil! We can't drink oil! Keep it in the soil! We can't drink oil! Keep it in the soil! We can't drink oil! Keep it in the soil! We can't drink oil! Keep it in the soil! We can't drink oil! Keep it in the soil! We can't drink oil! Keep it in the soil. Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. 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 Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. We can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. 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 We can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. We can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. We can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. Drink oil. Keep it in the soil. Keep it in the soil. Keep it in the soil. Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil.
Black snake killers!
Black snake killers! Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. Can't drink oil. Keep it in the soil. Can't drink oil. Keep it in.
Guys, try to take a picture. Ready?
Make a lot of noise.
We stand, we're standing rock. 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 We stand, we stand with Standing Rock! We stand
to today. Right now, we're going to introduce Billy Stratton. He's going to come first.
In terms of this gathering, I think it might be useful to start with foundations. And the foundations that the Dakota Access Pipeline speak to are foundations of law. Right. Treaty making. In North America from 1778 until 1868, the United States government signed almost 400 treaties with native nations throughout the contiguous North America. Honor the treaty! Exactly. Those that strive for the maintenance of balance and harmony, as some of the speakers already talked about earlier today, is the adherence to the laws of the United States of America as they are set down in the U.S. Constitution. And so that's what the people in this building, in this conference, need to hear. That these are laws that we're talking about. In terms of the Constitution, Article 6 states, all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And these treaties that were signed are the supreme law of the land. Now, that every one of those treaties I spoke about, all of those almost 400 treaties, have been violated or broken, does not diminish their standing in the eyes of the law. No more than such actions invalidate the U.S. Constitution itself from which those treaties have standing. So if you think about treaties as the supreme law of the land, the framers thought treaties were so important that they put them as an equal status to the U.S. Constitution. That's really what we're talking about here. I asked you, what is the source of this blindness? And you can yell it to those people in that conference.
Money! White supremacy!
This is a blindness that has the power not just to cause us to forget and ignore obligations all Americans have to the law, but even to the very ethical, moral, and religious traditions that many of us lay claim to, and many of those people in that conference, I'm sure, lay claim to as well. To see the natural world and consider it as mere commodity and hold the desire for wealth, profit, power as the highest values, that is a true sickness. That is what we must all fight against. For the good of the land, for the good of the people, and the good of a future that we can all enjoy. Thank you.
Last week I went to Standing Rock. I went to Standing Rock on the day of the election. It only made sense to go there to watch an election that pit Empire and Wall Street against racism and misogyny and xenophobia and disrespect for Native peoples. The racist side won, as we know. But given those choices, there was only one place that it seemed like I ought to be, and that was in North Dakota. And what I learned a few things there. The first thing I learned was that this is only the latest battle. It's the latest battle in a 500-year battle against genocide. Standing Rock is steps away from Little Bighorn, Custer's last stand, and just north of Wounded Knee, where the Sioux were massacred in 1890. And the land of this country was stolen. And if you want to know which part was stolen, it's all of it. From the native nations that were here before. I came to understand when I was there also why there are indigenous Mayan women from Guatemala in North Dakota. I'm a professor and the director of the Latin America Center. I work on Latin America. And we're facing at this moment all across the Americas unprecedented levels of assassination in Honduras against water protectors in Honduras, indigenous communities in Honduras. In Peru, indigenous leaders in Peru, in Brazil and Paraguay. And this moment is a moment at which capitalist consumption has come up against the limits of what the land can sustain, and the water can sustain, and the air can sustain. And indigenous people are on the front lines. And they're on the front lines because they recognize that there has to be a harmony between the way in which we live and the way in which the earth can sustain us. And this is what the indigenous people of Bolivia have developed. the notion of buen vivir, a good way of living. And without a good way of living, there can be no peace. There will be this conflict. I just want to end by returning to this moment and why I have hope. And that is because this event today, and you can see here the community, hundreds and hundreds of you are here, this was put together in a week. The Native Student Alliance came together in a week, and they called on their student allies, their professor allies, they called on the community to stand up. And we're here standing up. And as a professor, I can say that I have nothing left to teach you guys. You clearly have learned everything that there is to know about organizing. You all get A's. You have power, and this university needs your power. We don't want to be the Ole Miss of the Rocky Mountain West. I sure don't. And we need all of us to stand up, the students, the professors, the community here on campus, standing up, make sure this is the university that we want to be. So thank you very much.
The territory that we're standing on right now is Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute territory. And so we honor those people tonight because we're on a university campus that promoted the genocide of those people, and that happens this month. The Sand Creek Massacre happened in November. And John Evans, that street just out there, he was responsible for that. He was the governor during that genocide against the Cheyenne people. And so I ask people this evening to remember that and keep that seed in your mind and to remember the people who fought and died for this place. Because Denver wouldn't exist if those people hadn't been exterminated. And so I've also asked my sister Wendy to come up and share some words before I talk, because her sister Red Fawn Fallis is in the fight for her life right now. So free Red Fawn, and I'm going to ask my sister Wendy to come up.
I'm asked to say a few words on behalf of my sister Red Fawn Fallis, who's being held, who's being falsely accused for having done some stuff that she never did. And so I'm also asked to bring it to everybody's attention that there was also two people that fired shots, and they haven't been charged, and nothing's been done to them because they're from the other side, that they're not in trouble. And so why are they still holding my sister with no proof that she has done anything? And so I would like to ask all of you to keep my sister in your prayers. Don't forget her every time when you think about this event here. If you could remember my sister in a good way, because she was standing up just for what our family raised us to do, what our mother raised us to do. We are third generation members of the American Indian movement, and she was just doing what she's always been taught to do, and she didn't do anything wrong, and we want her to be released.
And all right, I'm sorry, but before once again I talk, I've asked two of my brothers from Boulder to come up, Mateen and Hawk.
How y'all doing tonight? All right, so a little bit about this song. It was late one night, and I was sitting at my kitchen table, and I just composed another song, and my mom was sitting there with me. She's like, hey, you know, Standing Rock is such a big issue, so maybe we can come up with a way to raise more awareness. And I've been singing my entire life, so I figured that that was the best outlet to raise awareness through. So here it goes. My little brother was gonna drum, but he gonna hold the mic now. He gonna jam with me.
Did somebody else hold the mic?
Thanks. land where no more oil lies. Let the sacred water be light. Standing Rock, we stand with you tonight. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. The morning sun will rise. All of our nations will unite. Many which only water is life. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh.
Whoa.
Let's give them one more round of applause. I think they earned it. It really touches me to see so many people out here tonight in honor of those who are willing to give up everything so that we can have clean drinking water, so that all these young people who are wandering around can have clean drinking water, can have a good future. Because not too many of us are willing to put everything on the line. But the time is now, folks. Last week, Donald Trump got elected to be the new face of the United States government. And I've talked to a lot of people and they're scared. They're scared because they come from families that may be separated, from families that may get deported, from families that may get discriminated against. And that fear is legitimate, you know. I'm not trying to dismiss anybody's fears or anxieties about that. But, you know, this is the time to take some serious lessons away from Standing Rock. The day that Donald Trump got elected, none of my friends or family that are up there right now said anything about being scared. Not one of them. Not one of them talked about being scared because they know why they're up there. And they know that regardless of who the face of this administration is, they're going to be there to defend the water and to defend our Unshimaka, the Mother Earth. And so I think we can learn something about that, about not carrying that fear around in our hearts. Because those guys, they're not afraid. They're not afraid to die for what they believe in. And that's something I think is probably the most inspirational thing I may ever see in my life. And right now we're talking about a movement. We're not talking about a spontaneous action that just came up out of nowhere. What's going on up in Standing Rock now is a movement. It's a movement. And so movements do not die. Movements and ideas like that don't just die. Just like they don't just spontaneously erupt. And what does that mean? That means that no matter what happens up there, this movement is going to continue because there are more pipelines being built all over this place. Down in Pinion, there's a pipeline, the Pinion Pipeline. It's about 6 hours away from here, and they're planning on carrying about 15,000 barrels of oil a day through that pipeline, and it goes right through Chaco Canyon. Yeah, exactly. If you guys haven't heard about it, you guys need to do some research. That's another pipeline that's going up. And my relatives, I come from White Mountain Apache people, but our relatives down south of us, the San Carlos, they're in the fight for their lives too, because of Oak Flat. That's a sacred space to them. Some of the most sacred ceremonies to the Apache people are done at Oak Flat.
No copper!
Exactly, no copper. And they're trying to mine a sacred space. Resolution Copper is trying to mine copper. And so these fights, these movements, they're going on all over the world. And our non-native allies are over in Mississippi and Arkansas and Iowa right now. There's a thing called Mississippi Stands. If you guys haven't heard of that, yeah, give a shout out to those guys. So there's a movement going on around here, and so I just want people to be conscious of that. To be conscious that no matter where we are, that's where the struggle is. And so what are we doing here tonight in Denver, Colorado? What is our purpose here? To truly stand in solidarity with Standing Rock, because we're 10 hours away. We have our own fight going on here. And so when we defend our right to drinking water in our community, we're standing in solidarity with Standing Rock. When we tell Hickenlooper that he's not allowed to frack in our backyards, we're standing in solidarity with Standing Rock. And right now in Greeley, there's a pipeline that's being proposed and pushed through, and they're forcing a lot of people out of their homes and pushing the same sort of agenda that's going on up in Standing Rock called eminent domain. Right. And Greeley's not that far from us, folks. And so we need to start mobilizing with them as well. So every time we go out and we defend water, we're defending life. We're defending our right to be who we are as human beings, not just as indigenous peoples, but as human beings, because none of us can live without water. And that's why you're all out here tonight, because you recognize that. And so I'm really honored to stand here with people who are awoke, people who are conscious about what it really takes to be a human being in 2016. And we have to remind Donald Trump that if he thinks that he's going to take our drinking water from us or from our relatives up in Standing Rock, he's got another thing coming.
There's another one that says, if you drink water, we fight for you.
If you drink water!
Hey, we won't stand for no more oil lies. Let the sacred water pay lies. Standing Rock, we stand with you tonight. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey. The morning sun will rise. All of our nations will unite. Many we Choni, why?